Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me today for a card making tutorial I'm going to be doing like an autumn themed card with some embossing, both dry embossing and heat embossing. So I've got that lovely shine from that gold there on those leaves. And this was something I haven't tried before, stamping with some distinctive stamps to see what would happen, and actually that's they've turned out really nicely. So that's what we're going to be doing today, just with slightly different colours as always. So say it's the Forever Fern stamp set that we're featuring for the leaves and things. It does have coordinating dies. Forever Flourishing they're called. Okay, so they're available in the annual catalogue. We also have the 3D embossing folder, the Fern 3D embossing folder, to add that texture on the background. And then the sentiment actually came from Fond of Autumn from the mini catalogue, so I like this thank you with the mixed script, so I went with that. I didn't want to use the sentiments that were in Forever Fern. Okay, so that's what we're using. So I just need to pop those to one side. I'll leave the embossing folder handy just for a second and say this is what we're doing. And for this one, the card base is Merry Merlot, one of our neutrals. Okay, and then the background's been inked with a variety of colours, including Merry Merlot. Okay, and that's what we've done, and we've done some heat embossing around the edge. So for the card I'm going to make today, instead of the Merry Merlot, we're going to use Cajun Craze as our card base. So this is Cajun Craze, really lovely autumnal colour. Got some white cardstock here, which measures 3 3/4 by 5.5. That's what we're going to emboss onto. So that's going to go in this folder, and just sandwich it between those in there. Okay. And we've got some scrap cardstock for the sentiment, and we have some vellum here for the leaves. So that's what I don't know whether you realise that these are actually stamped and embossed on vellum rather than white cardstock. Didn't want that heavy white border, so I stamped and embossed on vellum. Okay, so there we go. So the first thing we're going to do is emboss this piece. So it's smaller than the embossing folder, so long as it fits in and it's where you want it and all that kind of stuff, just put that in there. I'm going to use the Stampin' Cut and Emboss to do the embossing. So the base platform, the number 1 platform, gives you all the instructions that you need to do the various types of embossing. This is a thicker folder, which means it's a 3D embossing folder. So here's the 3D embossing folder. Okay, and you'll see we need the base plate number 1, and we need this dark grey plate number 4. Okay, that we put on top of our folder. So base plate folder with the cardstock and a number 4 plate. So this is our number 4 plate, this dark grey one. You get all the plates and platforms in the machine, in the package when you get the machine, all included. So you can literally, as long as you've got, whoops, daisy, that came out the other side and went clunk. So as long as you've got cardstock and some embossing folders and dies, you're ready to go. Okay, so when we take that out, it's going to have sort of pressed itself in, so it's going to peel out, and look at just, I mean, amazing texture on there. Oh, I haven't got my top light on, just one sec. There we go. Look how marvellous that embossing is. And you've also got the deboss side as well, so if you actually wanted to, you could use that side too, but we'll stick with using that. And of course we're going to have some inking over the top, so just bring in this mat to work on, which is it's actually the deluxe foam mat designed to go with the Stamparatus tool, but it's a grid that you can work on, it's wipe clean, etc. So we're going to use that today. So, colours, what we're going to use in the background. Now, I did use So Saffron, the neutral, on the original sample, but I think I'm going to spice that up a little bit because it felt like it got a bit lost, and just go with the slightly brighter Daffodil Delight to almost put down a base of colour. And I'm going to use a blending brush for that. Yeah, we're just going to go for it. What I do need is just a bit of scrap paper, ideally. I don't seem to have any to hand. I just want to knock off the just any. There we are. Found some. I'm just going to go real light over the image. And I really don't mind if it gets a bit splotchy here and there. And I'm holding that right at the end of the brush rather than here, just to get this, just a light coating of the daffodil on there. Okay, so we're gonna, oops, let's not stick our finger in the ink pad. Wipe that off. Going to bring in Pumpkin Pie next. So for blending brushes, you don't need a colour for every single ink pad in the collection, but what I do have is sort of one for each sort of colour family. So I've got a yellow one and I've got an orange one. Okay, and for some I've got sort of a dark and a light, so the greens, for example, so something like soft sea foam and mint macaron and stuff, you don't really want to be using that with the same brush as say shaded spruce or even evergreen or something like that. So I have light and dark in green and blue. Just so you know. And then I've got one that sort of does the lighter purples, so you know, things like Fresh Freesia and Highland Heather, and then I've got another one that will do the darker things like Rich Raspberry and Blackberry Bliss and things like that. So I've mostly focused that around the edge really, whereas on my other original sample I kind of did everything a little bit on the, you know, sort of tried randomly around the place. And then the last colour we're bringing in is Cajun Craze. So much deeper colour. But what I just wanted to do was just use the ink to bring out that embossing a little bit. Bring out that detail. I'm just going to go real light over the middle bit. It will just catch some of those little areas that are a bit paler. Maybe just a little darker around the edges. Like so. So when you feel happy that you've got the look that you're after, topping that down with that rather than making myself all yellow. Once you're happy that you've got the amount of blending and stuff that you want in the background, that's all good and finished. What we can do next is our little embossing trick around the edges. Okay, so we're not going to need that board anymore. This can just be spritzed with some water. So one of those, like you know, something like a little plant sprayer or something like that. It's kind of cool. Just try to be careful because I'm over my work surface, because I would normally do this away from my work surface, just so I didn't end up with splashes everywhere. But a cloth over the top of that with some water, and that's good to go. So this rag is it's an old you know, like get a muslin cloth or burping towel or whatever you want to call it. Good to go. Okay, anything stubborn on there, just a touch of hand sanitizer, you know, if you were using StazOn or something like that, that would get that off as well. Okay, don't like using baby wipes and things, just from an environmental point of view. Okay, so I'm going to go around the edges. Now, I did show this in a video I did on Saturday as well, where we did some inking with Versamark, our embossing ink, our clear sticky embossing ink, and I was kind of almost sponging around the edge with it and all that kind of stuff. Could do that totally if you wanted a little bit more of a rustic look. Maybe we will do a little bit. Try to keep it to the edges, but I'm just sort of tapping it onto the edge in the main really. So rather than layering it up, I'm just going to give it a little bit of an edge just with this embossing. Okay, and it occurred to me when I was doing my original sample-a-thon, probably would have looked better with copper. Okay, and it, for whatever reason, I'd forgotten that we have copper embossing powder, so there we go. But we do have copper embossing powder, so I'm just going to tip that over the edge of that side there, and it's only going to catch right on that edge, and it's probably you probably can't even see it on the camera, to be honest with you. Okay, but it is there, and then once you've got a little pile in your tray, you can just dip that in, tap off any excess. Like I say, I'm not too bothered if a bit comes onto the front anyway. And then we just want to heat set that with our heat tool. So I will mute the video. You don't want to be hearing that roaring through, but we're just going to go around the edge. Hopefully the angle will be right for you to see that turn. But here we go. All right, I'll see you back in a sec. Okay, so there we go. Don't know whether it will catch too well on camera, but there's just that nice little metallic edge to that now. Okay, that we can put against our card base now. Let's see. Oops, butterfingers over here. It's super subtle, and in real life it is quite nice just to see that hint of shine just around the edge there. All right, now because I want to put this down with some wet glue, I'm going to do this step now so that it's got time to dry completely. Because we've only gone round the edge and not exposed it to a lot of heat, it hasn't warped excessively, but I'm going to put plenty of glue on there, and then we're going to pop that down. So don't usually use wet glue, but because we've got a textured surface as well, the tape runners don't generally get on very well with textured surfaces, so we're just going to pop that down, press nice and firmly all the way around the edge like so, and we'll just set that aside to dry. So meantime, I've lost my scraps, there it is. Right, okay, so we've got some more stamping and embossing to do, so we'll just go through that process again. We've got Thank You from our what was that called, Fond of Autumn stamp set. So again, some clear sticky embossing ink, just to do that, and we can just pop our powder over the top of that. Forgot to use the embossing buddy, but again, tell you, my brain sometimes. Okay, so that's all cool, and that I'm just going to pop that to one side because we're going to get all that embossed together. It's a slow drying ink, we've got a bit of time to sort that out. All right, and then this is the leaf image that we're using. Easier to do it this way. Lots of light tapping, embossing buddy, especially with vellum. Vellum will be has a lot of like sort of natural static, and any natural oil in your fingers is gonna really show up. So we want 3 of these guys. So again, I did some stamping on vellum, or rather stamping with clear ink. It's probably more or less invisible to you right now, you can't see where I've been, but because I've got my light overhead, I can see that where those images were. You can just see them catching in the light there, so you can position them. Pop that away. More powder. So don't worry about, even if you end up dumping the whole tub over the images, it all just goes back in at the end. You don't, if it falls off, it goes into your tray, it goes back into your pot. So you're not using tons of product all the time. A tub of embossing powder is going to last you a very long time, unless you're doing absolute mass production, should we say. Right, so here we go. We're going to heat emboss again. So again, I'll turn the volume down. Now with vellum, I'm going to heat from the back, and you can actually see it turn from the back actually. So here we go. Look at the lovely result you get from that heating from the back. It's always really nice and super smooth, beautiful effect. Okay, right, letting those cool just for a second because I want to punch and emboss, and we don't want the that heated powder. It's just going to be just a little bit warm for a bit, and it stays a little bit soft. So if you were to sort of rub over it, you might sort of smudge it, if that's the right term. So that'll just give me an opportunity just to tap this away. Where's the lid? There it is. And pop that away. So really great little tray and tool kit. You also get like a little brush, which is marvellous. These reversible tweezers probably would have been good when I was doing this actually, but hey ho, there you go. And then the dust buddy, which helps with the all those little excess pieces. Okay, so yeah, so that's all nice and cool now. So it doesn't take long to cool down. You just want to be mindful of it. This is the Label Me Fancy punch. I'll just pop that in there, get that lined up. So the U is a nice what do you call it, straight block font, so that's easy to line up with. So we'll just pop that out of there, and that's another scrap that we can use for something else. We're going to need a couple of dimensionals on the back of there. I'm going to stick them to the side because we're going to be poking leaves in and about the place in there, and then these ones we will need to die cut. So again, on your plate. It tells you exactly what you need to use when you're using your thin dies. So we have a base platform, we have our thin die adapter plate, which is our number 2 plate, which is this one. It's just a thin plate, okay, and we then sandwich our cardstock and our die between 2 number 3 plates. So this is one of those number 3 plates, which is a clear plate. Then we'll put our cardstock on, another plate on top, and then that is our embossing sandwich. So we'll just put that base platform back onto the machine there. Okay, here's our coordinating die. So Stampin' Up are working on developing a magnetic plate for us. We did have one come to market, but it was withdrawn for quality reasons. So Stampin' Up won't continue to sell a product that's not performing as it should. It will withdraw it, which is really, really good. But we're hoping that we'll get another one of those in the future. And it is anticipated that we'll get one for the mini as well. But I guess they want to get the big one right first. So the sheer pressure those, they will stick to your plate and they'll curl somewhat, okay, but we'll fix that in a minute, okay. So yeah, so in terms of positioning the dies, I just find that this is actually just leftover washi tape from various incarnations of crafting that I've been doing. This happens to be a Stampin' Up one, and just take off a bit of the tack on your hand or your sleeve or whatever, and it's just enough just to keep it in place while you roll that through the machine. I'm not sure whether I rolled that through far enough. Oh, I did. There we go, there's number 2 and here's number 3. So sorry, that's a bit repetitive, however wanted to see the embossing steps and things and all that. Oh, let's actually line it up properly, shall we? So you're sort of framing your image, if you like, with the metal of the die. Last one. So this is just the pressure. It really, the die gets stuck in there, and the pressure is what does the work. And if you've got no idea what a die is like, so there's a flat portion but on the other side there's this ridge, and the sheer pressure of the rollers over that presses that into the paper and cuts through it. So isn't that like super? So if your leaves have gone a bit curly-whirly on you, you can just take your bone folder and sort of run them on the back there and just sort of bend them back a little bit. You may want them a bit on the curly-whirly side, but anyway, that helps flatten them that way, and then when you attach them, they're going to flatten out a little bit, whereas if they were the other way around, that would be a little bit more awkward to do. Okay, so that's all cool. So on the original sample I did emboss round here as well. So that's another option for you to do as well. So I'm popping this up on dimensional, but again, because we're sticking this onto a textured surface, a bit of wet glue is going to help that stick in the right place. Okay, and I'm just going to do this one a little higher up than I did the other one. Somewhere around there, I think. And then these guys I'm going to actually stick on with glue dots. So This is sort of a pressure adhesive, so it's on the roll there, and then you press your image against it and then it will pick up the adhesive. And I'm putting them sort of on these fatter portions, and you're not going to see them through the vellum. Okay, so there's 2 places there that we can get that adhered, and with the sort of curl of the vellum and stuff, they're attached without being sort of flailing all over the place, but they still have some movement. So we can just position those nice and quickly. These are really nice and strong as well. Just a couple of those here and there. So it might be that we want to cut some of that off, but oh no, I think that's going to fit as it is actually. Kind of depends on how much you want them to overlap, I guess. That'll do. Okay, so obviously you can embellish that a little more if you want to, but I'm going to leave mine as it is. Okay, heat embossing for an autumnal look on there. This one with copper and Cajun Craze, this one with gold and Merry Merlot. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that. It's given you some ideas. Oh, and I should just say, I know that ferns are evergreen, but at least I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah, a bit of artistic license on the colours there, but I'm sure you'll forgive that. Hope you've enjoyed that. Thanks a lot for joining me. Hope you're staying safe and well. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.